Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I, too, am looking forward to a productive discussion on the fate of the United States Postal Service this morning. As I have stated previously, the United States Postal Service is probably one of our most valued and reliable Federal Government entities. As one cornerstone of an overall trillion-dollar economic system, the United States Postal Service employs roughly 600,000 Americans that reliably process and deliver mail 6 days a week to over 150 million residences and businesses in every city, county, state, and U.S. territory. The contributions of the United States Postal Service to the fabric of our nation and our economy are undeniable. Therefore, ensuring its long-term solvency and profitability is critically important. While I am sure that some of the authors of H.R. 2309 share these concerns, I am equally certain that the approaches put forth in the underlying bill, the ISA bill, H.R. 2309, are not the most sensible policy reforms for modernizing the Postal Service for decades to come. For starters, and let's talk in plain terms here, this bill, H.R. 2309, the bill that the Chairman has offered, proposes a $10 billion taxpayer-subsidized bailout for the Postal Service. $10 billion. Now, I am someone on this side of the aisle who voted against the bailout of Wall Street, the TARP, the $700 billion that we gave to Wall Street. I voted against that bailout because it allowed bonuses to be paid to executives who actually caused some of the problems, and also because it demanded nothing of Wall Street. I will oppose this bailout, the one that's in this H.R. 2309, because it is unnecessary, unwarranted. I can't believe that we have people, some on both sides of the aisle, who call themselves fiscally responsible and are backing this measure to take $10 billion in taxpayer money and hand it to the Postal Service when the Postal Service has the resources themselves to correct this situation. I have a bill that I'll be offering as a substitute to this that actually uses United States Postal Service resources to bail themselves out instead of using taxpayer money. And it does so in a way that will move, the target is to move 100,000 people into retirement without using taxpayer money. It will be interesting to see how the members of this committee who call themselves fiscal conservatives or fiscally responsible, how they respond to voting on this bill. This is the moment. But if you're going to talk the talk, this is when you've got to walk the walk. And we will let the people know who voted for the taxpayer bailout when it wasn't necessary. This bill also threatens the Postal Board of Governors and the postal management with the prospect of being forced into this possibly illegitimate form of receivership. This bill that we're considering today will set up the collapse of the United States Postal Service as we know it. What's going to happen here is the conditions that the Postal Service will be required to operate under are completely impossible to satisfy. And when it comes to the point where the Postal Service cannot meet its singular obligation to prepay retiree health benefits, the provisions of this bill will dismantle the current operation of the Postal Service and put in place a commission that will begin to dismantle the United States Postal Service as we know it today. It will lay off the most senior employees first, the people who are most experienced at running this system. It will keep the junior employees who know the least about how this system operates. It will create a BRAC-like system. BRAC is an acronym that describes the base closing and realignment system that we use for our military bases. A BRAC-like system will be put in place to close post offices and facilities all over this country. one that doesn't work very well, one that doesn't include a great amount of input from members of Congress and from local communities. I am also baffled by the fact that we are talking about postal reform less than 4 years after the last major postal overhaul, and this bill, H.R. 2309, does nothing to tackle some of the main problems confronting the United States Postal Service.
I would ask unanimous consent the gentleman have an additional 15 seconds without objection.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Moreover, H.R. 2309 doesn't contain any language to rectify the ill-devised retiree health benefit payments that has caused the Postal Service to tap out of their $15 billion borrowing authority and accumulate record losses of $20 billion over the last 4 years. The fact of the matter is the Postal Management has done a fair job in trying to work through this fiscal crisis that this country is in. And I would encourage us to view today's proceeding as an opportunity to put in place some of the additional enhancements and operational flexibilities requested by the Postal Service that will allow it to operate for decades to come. Thank you.
I
appreciate the extra time. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Of course. Does any other